You've heard us talk about hormone therapy by Happy Mammoth many times by now. It's a supplement that helps women maintain optimal hormone levels with over 50,000 glowing reviews from women all over the globe. 98% say that they would recommend it to friends and family. And that's why we're recommending it to you. Now we can take those hormone harmony results even further by pairing it with Happy Mammoth's probiotic collagen protein. It helps restore gut lining integrity, promoting overall hormone balance. It also helps relieve occasional bloating, reduce sugar cravings, and helps you feel satisfied longer. Because your gut directly affects your hormones, improving gut health can amplify your hormone harmony results so you feel like yourself again. Happy Mammoth is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. Right now, you can try prebiotic collagen protein and hormone harmony risk-free and get 15% off your entire order with code MurderDiaries at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code MurderDiaries for 15% off today.
If you care about the seafood you eat, you need to know where it comes from. Wild Alaskan Company delivers 100% wild-caught, frozen right off the boat, perfectly portioned fish straight to your door, so you always know exactly where it comes from. That means no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and responsible fishing communities. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/wildpod for $35 off your first box of seafood today. If you care about the seafood you eat, you need to know where it comes from. Wild Alaskan Company delivers 100% wild-caught, frozen right off the boat, perfectly portioned fish straight to your door, so you always know exactly where it comes from. That means no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and responsible fishing communities. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/podwild for $35 off your first box of seafood today.
Welcome to Unscripted. I'm Natalie.
And I'm Paige. Today we're doing another deep dive. This is another one of my absolute faves from her work on the silver screen, big screen, to her music. She really is a multi-talented human being on top of being an extremely successful businesswoman and apparently a lot of sneaky philanthropy that I wish I knew more about so we could talk about it today. But I do know that there are a lot of people who really respect her for it, that do know. That is none other than Selena Marie Gomez.
I'll be honest, this isn't a person that I've followed very closely throughout her career, but obviously I know who Selena is. And that's just because she's so relevant in the tabloids, in pop culture. And so it was really fun to be able to go through and learn a little bit more about her career, her life, and get more insight into her mind. When we both watched My Mind and Me, her documentary that came out a couple of years ago in preparation for today's deep dive. So we're going to touch on a little bit of everything from her life, her career, and her mind.
You mentioned her relevance, and that couldn't be more true. This woman has the most Instagram followers, I think, of all people on Instagram, or at least at one point did. She has more than Taylor Swift. And you know what? I'm going to get the exact number because it's so many.
I'm looking at the list right now of most followed accounts, and it's Instagram. Obviously, their own account has the most followers. Then we have Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, and then Selena Gomez. So it does make her the most followed woman
and that's
on Instagram.
And maybe even that's what I read, but also it could change too over the last few years. So regardless.
Even to be number 4, though.
Even to be the most followed woman is such an interesting accomplishment because it's so 2025 to have the most followers on some kind of platform, or whether that be for, the most followed woman or the most followed person or the most followed person of a certain nationality or ethnicity. Like, it's such an interesting accomplishment, and I'm sure comes with a lot of good and a lot of bad and a lot
of responsibility.
A lot of responsibility and a lot of weird, I'm sure. But all that to say, she has 417 million followers. And I will say again, this is wild to me that it's actually not her longstanding best friend, Taylor Swift, that has the most
and
followed.
have Taylor Swift's Instagram pulled up. She has 281 million followers. So Selena has a little under 1.5 times more than Taylor Swift, who we've seen the force that her platform and her Taylor Nation fans are. I think they just raised $600,000 for otters by buying otter t-shirts from the Monterey Bay Aquarium because they saw Taylor Swift wearing them.
Yes.
Can you imagine what double or 1.5 times the people can do?
I remember noticing that otter t-shirt when I saw the Fate of Ophelia premiere movie thing. And I go, oh, how cute, how funny. She has otters on her shirt. But the people who follow her, myself included, but some people just get so smart and so into it that they found out where this shirt was, and the aquarium knew what they were doing. And they said, hey, we're going to do a fundraiser for this shirt. They sold out in 8 minutes. Wild.
I believe it.
And as we're comparing a following of Selena to Taylor's 281 million is of somebody who has all 12 spots on the Billboard Top 100 of her album. She's the only person to have ever done that. This is her 3rd time doing it. So really, she's only just outdone herself. So take that 281 million. That's the kind of power that it holds and has. And then take it to 417 million for Selena. Unbelievable.
Well, and I think we'll uncover this a little bit more as we talk more about Selena's life and career. But even if we were to compare, not that it's great to compare women to women, but just for women who are in similar lines of work, we have Taylor, who's exclusively a pop star, versus we have, obviously Taylor is a lot more, but that's primarily what she does,
career,
right?
Her art, career. Yes.
But we have Selena, who is so multifaceted and explores those in more of a career way. She has her singing career. She has her acting career. She has her philanthropy career. And she also has her business, girl boss business career.
Yeah.
Through Rare Beauty. So she has her hands in a lot of different pots. And I think it'll be fun to see how she got there from where she started back in Grand Prairie, Texas in 1992. That's when she was born, July 22nd, 1992.
Her parents at the time were in high school. Her mom definitely was in high school. Her dad was not far off in age. I just don't have a full confirmation if he was also 16 or if he was also in high school, but definitely young teenage parents. And they made it work. And I think a lot of what made it work was, of course, her mom, Mandy Teefey, who is almost, I guess we should say, synonymous with Selena at this point. If you follow Selena, you know Mandy Teefey. Her parents were incredibly impactful on Selena growing up. And I think they were incredibly impactful for helping Mandy parent. I do not want to trivialize what Selena's dad did while she was growing up or the role he played. But by the time she was 5, her parents were split up. And while she's still close with a cousin who I believe is on that side named Priscilla, who Selena's very close with, and we see her in this documentary and throughout other things with Selena. But she mentions that she misses him, and he knows that in this documentary. And so it kind of gives us a clue that she doesn't really have a large relationship with him, but she somehow has an understanding for him, but also some pain surrounding that.
It didn't sound like bitterness, though.
Right. Not bitterness, just some pain, but some love
sadness
and understanding
and longing for
sadness.
this paternal figure in her life, which was eventually not, I don't want to say filled, but it was, this longing may have been eased by the role that her stepfather, Brian, played. Because I know that her mother eventually remarried this man named Brian, and both Mandy and Brian would go on to manage Selena's early career.
And Selena would go on to, of course, continue to maintain a really close relationship with Mandy's parents. I believe that they have lived with her or stayed with her. When you watch Selena Plus Chef, which is a really great show, it started during the pandemic, where she wanted to cook from home remotely with chefs, and is actually pretty creative, where, the chefs are on like Zoom essentially, and they send all the ingredients to the house and she cooks with them, and you see her Nana and Papa, as she calls them, with her. They're always trying the food. They are usually included in one of the plates that are made, and it's really cute to see their relationship, as well as the relationship with her little sister. As you mentioned, Mandy did get remarried, and she went on to have probably one of Selena's favorite people in the entire world, her little sister, Gracie.
That's actually someone we were missing from the documentary that both you and I watched last night. Her sister wasn't there at all. Her stepfather wasn't in it at all. And her mother made a brief appearance in the form of an interview. And she was very upset in that interview too. She had tears in her eyes. And as she spoke about the struggle that Selena had been going through at the time, which we'll cover as we get to it in the timeline.
Of course. And we will revisit that interview portion of Mandy. It is interesting that, as you mentioned, we notice that sort of absence of Gracie and even Nana and Papa and her little sister, because they are very important in her life. But I think it's also important to note that this documentary was really focusing on mental health as well as career, and a little bit of her past, or I guess a lot about her past, but how that all ties into it. She started working at 7 years old, and this was when she landed Barney. There's actually like an infamous picture that she reminisces about, and that I think a lot of us have seen before, whether she's posted it or wherever. I'm sure it lives on the internet, but they show it in the docu too, where she's just a little girl on the phone, and the picture is being taken of her kind of staring towards a mirror, and whoever's taking the picture is behind her, taking that picture of her in the mirror, talking on the phone, finding out that she got Barney. And it does seem like she really wanted to do some of this. And we don't really exactly find out why a little girl from Grand Prairie ends up being on Barney. Besides that, that's just, in the 90s, it was a little bit different. It didn't take as much nepotism. And sometimes you could just go to a little casting call and they're looking for all American kids. So, and Raquel even refers to Selena as all American. She is third generation on her dad's side. So her roots are deep here in this country. So it's so funny to think about, again, how this could have played out in the 90s. Again, a little bit of a casting call looking for all American kids or something like that. And so they go to none other than wherever around Grand Prairie, Texas, and she gets that. Or maybe they did go to LA because she started saying, Mommy, I want to be on TV, and starts acting in these ways where they know that she could do it. Who knows? But again, this is such a different time that we don't really know. And maybe there are other people who follow her more closely that do know how she ended up at 7 years old, beginning her career. But nonetheless, she did. And she's on Barney. And there's tons of clips. I mean, you could go on TikTok and YouTube and find a clip of Selena on Barney. And she's adorable.
And just to back up a little bit for those listening who may not be familiar with who Raquel is, it is Selena's friend. I would say they're pretty close friends who appeared
for a very long time. They've been friends. Yeah.
Right. So they're pretty close. I would say that Raquel is Selena's confidant. She travels with her often. She's with her probably more than her family is. And so this is someone who appeared in the documentary, and there was a lot of talk about her after on social media, which wasn't all positive, but I think it might have been she got a poor edit, or maybe she just wasn't in a good place at the time. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out, who Raquel is.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah.
She is also an author and has a bit of a career of her own, but she is always there for Selena. She was on Selena Plus Chef, like you mentioned in the documentary. So she really is also synonymous with Selena at this point, especially since Selena Plus Chef, because she's got some kind of funny moments there. But we do see this different side in the documentary. But I think it's them being very real as deep friends. What do we do sometimes to the people we love? Sometimes we say things we don't mean, or we act in ways that we aren't proud of, or we've just been around each other for so long right now. Like, for example, we just got back from a week in Africa, and I'm just like...
That's what it looked like to me a lot of the times where they had maybe a little bit of conflict on screen. It looked like they were a little tired of each other. And not that love was lost, but it was just they probably should have had some space from each other. But another friend of Selena's that was very prominent in her early career was Demi Lovato, who actually appeared on Barney and Friends with Selena in those very, very early years.
That's right.
And, like Paige said, it was her first acting gig. Selena herself has said that she was a little shy when she was growing up. She didn't know what to do in front of the camera, but she learned everything from that first job on Barney when it came to acting. And she appeared in 13 episodes between 2002 and 2004, and then a couple of straight-to-video films as well.
After landing Barney and Friends, she was definitely working a lot. And she even talks about when she and Raquel go to Africa, they asked her about school. And it was just such an interesting answer that she gave, because by high school, she did have to finish it on set, as she said. And now she does sort of seem like there's a lot more going on in her mind as she's saying it, because she doesn't want to sound... I feel like she's always very afraid of sounding ungrateful, which is okay to say, hey, I loved this, but it also cost me this. Those two things can be true at once, but I think she's very careful. But she does explain that, by high school, I had to leave high school and I did it on set. And then she talks about doing school online. So I think it was like a combination of online / on set, and maybe whether there's a tutor on set or not, that a lot of the stuff was through online, because by 2006, she's guest starring on Disney, which is a huge deal as a child actor. Again, yes, of course, it comes with some trauma for some of those, so I don't want to trivialize that. But, she's working with Disney, which is a big deal career-wise, of course. And then she actually, which I kind of forgot about this, was on Hannah Montana. She played Michaela. And then, of course, as we know, she went off to have her own show, Wizards of Waverly Place, where she played the daughter and a wizard, Alex Russo. When I was babysitting at this point a lot through college, this show, when I tell you it was always on these kids' TVs, it was always on, along with Hannah Montana. So I could see where that age group, like if you were like growing up in those mid to late 2000s and you were like a kid at that time, like 5-10 years old, I could see why, Miley Cyrus and someone like Selena would probably just really be nostalgic for you. And I think that's where we sort of get what do they call them? The Gelinators. Well, there's Selenators, but then there's like the Jelena, the Jelena fans for Justin and Selena, who just a little bit after that, this time when she starts Wizards of Waverly Place is when we get into her relationship with Justin by about 2010. And at the same time also, she's just got so much going on, right? I almost feel like I'm rambling, but this is what she was dealing with. She signed with Hollywood Records. She was 16 at that time. And then for all the Jelena stuff, that would have picked up around, I'm pretty sure she was right around 17-ish, 18-ish. I'm not a full expert on their relationship. But so, I mean, so much going on. We're getting close to finishing high school. We've got our own show. We signed a record deal. Like, no wonder, we experienced what we experienced later on. Can she even catch a breath? And at such a young age, is she even catching a breath?
That's right. She really was part of the Disney pipeline where Disney was doing their best to churn out these multi-hyphenates, right? So think about like we had Selena, actor, pop star in the making. And then we also had Miley, Demi. And these three, I really feel like they were the tween version of what we had back in the early 90s or, mid to late 90s with Christina, Jessica, and Britney. This was this new generation's version of that, except Disneyfied. And when I look back at all of their careers, I can't imagine any of them really had a moment to breathe for themselves. Their calendars were packed. Their schedules were booked, block after block with one thing following the other. It's no wonder that all three of them really did struggle with finding their own identities when they eventually left the Disney machine. It's no wonder all three of them either dealt with some sort of substance use abuse or mental health struggles. Those type of schedules would take a toll on anyone, let alone a child, eventually finding their way into womanhood.
Your brain's not even fully developed yet. You're working more than a lot of adults. There's no way coming out unscathed. But that doesn't mean that they're not grateful for it or that they can't be grateful for it. Again, both things can be true where you say, this was amazing and I'm grateful for it, but it was at this cost. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think we're also coming from that place when we talk about that. We don't want to trivialize careers or anything like that. And I don't think we sound like we are, so I hope we don't.
No.
But we're also a little bit in awe what these young people were capable of doing and what they were striving for. Selena at this time was really trying to do music bigger, again, signing with Hollywood Records, and she sang under Selena Gomez and The Scene.
Okay, so I'm glad you bring that up because I think that is how they were able to differentiate Selena from Demi and Miley. When I was doing my deep dive, my homework for this episode, I sort of started to understand and see Selena as this reluctant pop star. She wants to do it, but also her heart isn't necessarily there. It's more with acting. And Disney saw this opportunity with a girl who had a built-in fan base, who could act, who could sing, and decided to invest in her and make her a pop star. But I always kind of saw her as someone who was a little bit more reluctant than, say, Demi or Miley, who were gung-ho on being full-time pop stars. Do you know what I mean?
So interesting that you bring that up because Raquel also brings this up a little bit about Selena in a different way. And she says to her, I feel like you know your purpose, but sometimes you choose not to walk in it. You know, and for further clarification, she goes on to sort of say, I think you know what makes you happy, but sometimes you don't do it. So I think sometimes her mind gets the best of her. And for example, a fantastic musical artist. She really is. Don't get me started on Rare or her album before that. They are both really great albums. And it's interesting that you're picking up on that because her best friend is kind of telling her that a little bit. Now, might that be music specific? I don't know, but it's interesting that you pick up on these things of like, yeah, she might be good at it, but there's some reluctance there overall. And I think we see that a lot. I think we see her get the best of herself and she admits this. She's very open about mental health. So she does. She gets the better of herself sometimes. And I can't say she's held herself back because she has made some things happen, but it does make you wonder.
The girl's worth $1 billion. She hasn't necessarily held herself back from finding her purpose, but maybe, it has been sort of a struggle to decide which path to take because You can have a
Mhm.
purpose and take a different path to get to the same end goal, right?
True.
And I think she sort of dipped her toe into the whole pop star thing and started to realize this life that she was living really wasn't what she was wanting.
Mhm.
And we see that, on display in the documentary where she really does struggle with going out there and knowing within herself that she did her best, because there's this constant questioning of her worth as an artist, her abilities, and that's never something you want to see, let alone in a pop star, because you really have to have thick skin when you're a pop star. You have to have a little bit of delusion. You have to have a little bit of, you have to be a little bit crazy. And I don't say crazy and like mentally unwell. You just have to
Mhm.
believe in yourself more than anyone else out there to
That's
make it.
right.
Taylor Swift would not be able to be where she's at if she didn't believe in herself.
Mhm. Mhm. 100%. And I think that Selena makes sure of who is surrounding her at this point, that they believe in her that much, because if sometimes she can't, because there is that reluctance or that those mental health moments where she's choosing not to live in that purpose. And I heard something interesting today, and I think it kind of resonates here. And that is that, staying in your comfort zone keeps you alive. Getting outside your comfort zone makes you feel alive. And it was in the spirit that both are extremely important, that we need those moments outside of a comfort zone to experience those new things. But we also need to be comfortable and not always searching for the next biggest, better. We need to be comfortable where we are and take care of ourselves on the day to day. And I feel like that kind of resonates here. And there's reluctance to be outside that comfort zone, I think. And I think that's what Raquel's mentioning too. Like, we are here to tell you we believe in you more than you do sometimes. I think that's kind of what she means.
And I have to wonder if that reluctance or that lack of belief in herself has to a little bit to do with being wounded in that relationship with Justin Bieber ending and all of the back and forths of, are they together? Are they not together? Is he dating someone else? Is
Mhm.
he meeting up with a Selena and then the next day getting married? So I have to wonder what role that played in her struggles as well. Because if the person I thought I loved the most in the world went and
Mhm.
married someone else like the next weekend, I would have a really difficult time with that as well. So
Oh my gosh.
for our listeners who may not know who we're talking about, which I don't know how you would not know, but we're talking about her relationship with Justin Bieber, right? So just to back up a little bit, Paige said that they started dating in,
Right around this time,
okay, yeah,
around 2010 to 2012.
a little bit older, right?
She's about a year and a half, 2 years older than him.
Mhm.
He's March of 94 and she's July of 92. So not quite 2 years apart in age. And they're both kind of coming of age at this time. And he says in this interview that he thinks Selena Gomez is cute.
Mhm.
And that's like an archival moment in the Jelena, whatever you want to call it. And it just kind of went from there. And for 8 years, we have
That's a
this
long time.
relationship. Very long time.
And especially for a young couple, it's a lot for a lot of seriousness for two young people. And there really was this cyclical nature
Hmm.
that followed their relationship, breakups, reconciliations. There were cryptic lyrics in songs, tabloid
Hmm.
stories. They really were under the microscope at the time of, the greater population. Everyone was watching their every move.
Absolutely. And they even denied the relationship for a little bit. I actually pulled up a timeline, and let me tell you,
Oh,
Natalie,
no,
we
no.
could do an entire episode just on the Jelena nonsense. Yeah, we could. Because again, you have from like around August of 2009, when Justin first has some kind of tweet related to her,
Mhm.
all the way through to the 2018, when we see her visit him at like a hockey game that he is playing and a restaurant type picture where she is at a restaurant with him and he like serenades her. And then all of a sudden they're not together and he's engaged to Hailey Bieber within months, who he had been with before when they were off. So he was with Hailey. They break up. He's back with Selena. They break up. Then boom, he's engaged to Hailey Bieber, who he then married in September of 18. So for 9 years, we have this connection. And much of that is this on and off again relationship.
Well, and that on and off relationship is scrutinized by the public. So it may have not only had the pressures of maintaining this relationship, trying to hold on to it as they're on again, off again, but also the intense media pressure that was on both of them, but also mainly her. I felt like people were looking at Justin Bieber and all of his antics, scrutinizing him for, doing terrible things. I think this was the time he was acting up in his own life.
When he was like 21.
Right.
Yep.
But that scrutiny also ended up going on to Selena as well, just because she was associated with him. So I can imagine that it was a lot of pressure and a lot of weight to bear at the time.
Yeah, a ton of weight. And, you mentioned for how young they are, that it's such a long time. And I think that maybe that's some of what happened. They're learning relationships at the expense of each other. And isn't that such a common story of first loves? Which they are definitely. And I don't think either of them would deny it.
I think what's unique about their relationship, though, is that each breakup was followed by a career move. So we have a breakup and then we have one of her albums released. Then we have another breakup and she releases the album Revival in 2015. And it's really her most independent album where she's rebranding as an artist now. And that's followed by a tour, also the Revival tour, which is where we find her at the start of the documentary that both Paige and I watched, My Mind and Me. Ever wonder why so many people regain weight after stopping a GLP-1? Up to 40% of the weight loss can come from lean muscle. This weakens the body, slows metabolism, and makes it easier to put the pounds back on, creating a cycle of dependency. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet offers a drug-free way to maintain results and support long-term metabolic health. In just 5 days, it activates fasting pathways to burn fat, protect muscle, and rejuvenate cells, all while letting you enjoy real food. Whether transitioning off a GLP-1 or seeking a sustainable solution, Prolon helps you stay on track. So what exactly is Prolon? Well, it's a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, thus triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. It was developed over more than 2 decades at USC's Longevity Institute, and it's backed by top U.S. medical centers. Prolon has been shown to support fat-focused weight loss, biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, and so much more. Prolon really picks up where GLPs leave off. It's convenient, backed by Nobel-winning science, and helps you sustain your results long-term. What I love about Prolon is how simple they make it. Everything you need comes right to your door, perfectly portioned and easy to follow. And the food? It's delicious. For a limited time, Prolon is offering listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/diaries. That's prolonlife.com/diaries to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/diaries.
I can't stress enough how big of a difference therapy through Rula has made in my life. For the last many years, I have turned to Rula to access my therapy in order to manage things like OCD, as well as just the everyday stuff from existing here on Earth. I love being able to access it virtually, especially during the pandemic. My OCD was not comfortable going in person, and the selection of therapists I was able to choose from was incredible. I seriously love my therapist that I have right now so much. So with Rula, you too can find the right therapist for you. No, really, I mean that, because Rula partners with over 15,000 therapists and psychiatrists that operate nationwide. wide. And listen, most of your major insurance companies are going to cover in-network care. Most patients pay as little as $15, but depending on your coverage, you might pay $0. I know I do. And if that's not enough, Rula is committed to being there with you every step of the way. I know they've been there for me the entire time I've been with them. They've helped me find the right therapist twice now, 2 amazing therapists that I've been able to work with. They also remind me when I have an appointment. They can do this for you too. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head over to rula.com/diaries to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Go to rula.com/diaries and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares.
If you care about the seafood you eat, you need to know where it comes from. Wild Alaskan Company delivers 100% wild-caught, frozen right off the boat, perfectly portioned fish straight to your door, so you always know exactly where it comes from. That means no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and responsible fishing communities. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/wildpod for $35 off your first box of seafood today.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso. Gift magical mornings with Nespresso Virtuo Pop. Compact and stylish, Virtuo Pop is made to meet every morning coffee craving. From espresso to coffee, hot or iced, at the click of a button. And celebrate the season with Nespresso's limited edition coffee flavors. Sweet almond and hibiscus, cinnamon and candied tamarind, and festive double espresso. Magic in the making. Shop the holiday gift collection exclusively at Nespresso.com.
The family that vacations together stays together. At least, that was the plan. Except now, the Dastardly desk clerk is saying he can't confirm your connecting rooms.
Wait, what?
That's right, ma'am. You have rooms 201 and 709.
No, we cannot be 5 floors away from our kids.
The doors have double locks. They'll be fine.
When you want connecting rooms confirmed before you arrive, it matters where you stay.
Welcome to Hilton. I see your connecting rooms are already confirmed.
Hilton, for this day.
I should specify that Revival was released late 2015, so it totally makes sense that, right, this is where we're picking up in 2016, not even a year after the album's release, that she is touring. And I'm sure she and Justin are, hot and cold here. If you listen to Camouflage, I just really feel like that song is something that, really kind of takes me back to my horrific high school boyfriend. I get what she's talking about. And it's so interesting that a song can take you back to that place where you understand that pain or what that sentiment she's trying to get across. I'm like, no, I get you. You have a lot of shit to say. And it's also really weird that now that you're not together, they were you were together all the time. They were your little everything. But now it feels like those memories feel so cold and old, and it's a weird feeling. And she expresses this in Camouflage so well. And then that when they are trying to crawl back to you, you have a fortress around your heart, right? And so I'm just oh my gosh, this was kind of like her high school or teenage relationship. It was for both of them. Because in 2009, when the first little tweet started, when the connection kind of started, they would have both been in high school. And it just takes me back there. So, and it's a really beautiful song I'm pretty sure that song was on Revival. So there's just a lot of songs that go to Justin anyways on that. And then his answer on his next album to that was Where Are You Now? And I guess there's some Easter eggs, I think, in the music video.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either because I don't think that he wanted to let it go. And I think that she didn't necessarily either, but she wanted to let this pain go. Look, if we're not working, we need to let this go. But then every time kind of crawls back all the way until 2018. And I don't know what would have happened that finally was just like, we're never ever getting back together. But that did finally happen. And to be honest, I think they are both better off.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, if we kind of zoom to today, although there's a lot more in the documentary that we could also be weaving in and out during this conversation, they're both better off. I mean, I was listening to her podcast interview with Amy Poehler on, I think it's called Good Hang. It's such a great podcast. I love Amy Poehler. She's great. And I was very excited to see an episode with Selena. And guess who the person was? So she does this bit where they talk nice behind the person's back before the interview starts of the podcast and the recording. And guess who she talked about Selena kindly behind her back with? Martin Short from Only Murders in the Building.
Martin Short and Steve Martin all have what appears to be a really close relationship on and off the screen. Like there's a lot of chemistry that you can tell that they have while filming together, but the way they interact with each other at award shows and in the media, you can tell that it's sincere, or maybe they're just all really good actors. I don't know, but it feels sincere and authentic to me. And that's something that you don't always see with celebrities and those that they work with. It just shows how kind and authentic of a person Selena is. You get what you see. And I'm not saying that she isn't complex, but I'm just saying like she seems to be in a really healed place at this point when she's working in TV. She's doing what she loves. It's a little bit more of a grounded, structured life than being on tour nonstop, which the tour that we talked about was eventually canceled midway through because of her mental health struggles and her medical struggles as well.
It's such a different place. And I think I began talking about Amy Poehler's podcast because I wanted to mention that just like what an amazing last 5 years she has had since releasing one of, seems like to her favorite albums she's ever released. And you mentioned this healed place. And it feels like that. It's not perfect. I don't think it'll ever be perfect because of her diagnoses that she struggles with. And then one of the diagnoses sort of amplifies the anxiety that's part of her other diagnoses. So all that to say, it's so great that she's in that place because, as you mentioned in the beginning, this interview with her mom, Mandy Teefey, was her expressing just the sheer fear of the psychosis, or the psychotic break is the right word, that Selena had. And her friends are saying it was so scary. It was like her eyes went like completely black. They're guarded with exact specifics, but Selena did end up hospitalized, the tour being canceled, like you mentioned. And from then on, I think it was a journey to get her well. She also had a kidney transplant with another friend who, as soon as I saw pictures, I was like, oh my gosh, she looks so familiar. Like, who is this girl?
She was on How I Met Your Father.
Yes. So bless IMDb that this woman, her name starts with
Francia
an F.
Reza.
Francia. I always feel like I'm going to say it wrong or incorrectly.
And apparently, if we are going to address a little bit, there has been a rumored falling out between the two of them. Who knows?
That's what I wanted to get to.
Oh,
yeah.
really? I don't know if it's true.
Or I wanted to mention it because, right, it's so, like, is it not? It's one of those rumors.
And the whisperings online have said that it stems from the fact that Selena started drinking after this transplant, where Francia now is left with one kidney. And, you're not supposed to drink or do a lot of things when you've had a transplant or when you have donated one. So Francia's entire life from the donation onward has changed significantly. The way she works out, the way she lives her life, the way just everything is affected by this procedure because she now only has one kidney. And if the rumors are true and Selena started drinking, well, after receiving this new organ, I can imagine that would be pretty upsetting to be in her place to see, like, I gave you a gift and you're not taking care of that gift.
I think it comes from being young, not wanting to be sick, but also just like having a hard time coming to terms with this different type of lifestyle you have to have, and nobody else around you is having to live like that. Well, for her, probably besides Francia. And that is not to excuse it, but I think that I give Selena grace for that because I think it probably took her some slip ups and maybe a fight with Francia to really kind of be like, oh yeah, like I need to get my shit together.
It must be a tough pill to swallow because for the rest of her life, she's going to have to take medication for this new organ. She can't, her life and the choices that she can make are different than her peers. And that must be really difficult in addition to everything else that she has on her plate, both career-wise and physically, like her medical conditions. It must be really difficult to go and try to live a normal life. You can, but it takes practice.
24 years old when she got that transplant. Almost 25, but she was only 24 when she was undergoing all of that. So,
and she was on chemotherapy for a while, which is a treatment for lupus. So she was having transfusions. She was having a kidney transplant. She had a lot going on, and she was dealing with her career, what seemed like to be falling apart. But like you said, it's been a real journey to get her well. And the reason that I actually was thinking of Francia is because now we know that, if we're to zoom ahead to today, or if we zoom ahead to 2023, she started dating Benny Blanco. He is well known in the music industry. And apparently she once posted on social media that she would never date Benny Blanco, which jokes on her because she ended up marrying him. They got engaged in 2024 and then married 2025, not too long ago.
They just got married. Yeah, like a few weeks ago.
And people were posting online on Francia's TikTok, hey, did you go? Because she had posted a video that day, not at the wedding. So who knows if it was posted in real time? I don't know.
This is wild too, because we're going on a decade of when the surgery was done. Not quite, but we're going on. And we're talking young 20-somethings when whatever rumored feud could have happened, you would think that it could be squashed by now. And maybe it is, but maybe it's to a point where it's just not like that though. And sometimes if you think back to a decade, there are friends that I saw way more often at that stage of life than I do now. It doesn't mean I don't like them. So there could be all kinds of possibilities as to what really happened, to what the case is today. Who knows? But I'm very glad that Selena has opened up with this documentary from, I think it was 2022, if I'm correct. And it spanned around 6 years from 2016 all the way through about that same time, probably 21, 22, which is very uncommon. And it's just not something that you really see all the time with one person wanting to share a piece of their life. 6 years. And who knows how this got developed? Was it always an idea? Did they use footage from what they had before and they were able to blend them together? I don't know the inner workings of how they ended up making the documentary do 6 years. I don't know if it was something she always had in mind, or again, if they said, hey, it's 2020, 2021. We want to do this documentary. Let's pull all this footage that we were also filming for, because this is going to showcase the story we're also trying to tell, and we're going to do interviews. Who knows? We have a lot of options. I would be very interested to know, though.
I want to know too. I feel like with artists, that's something that you do see a lot, is there's a lot of behind the scenes footage, whether that's photos, whether that's videos. They're always documenting what's happening. And I don't think a lot of them know exactly what they plan to do with them at the time, but it is something that they have in their arsenal to use.
Good point.
With any upcoming projects. And I think what makes at least Selena's different from the rest that I've seen that are similar is that she has this vulnerability that she was able to access throughout the 6 years that took place in the documentary. She really bears her soul. And you can tell that there's this emotional openness with how she addresses the things going on in her life that we don't get from these mega pop stars a lot. And so it was nice to be able to peek behind the curtain and see how someone in that position, even if they are going through things that you may not relate to, how they respond to their situation.
She says it a couple of different ways, a couple of different times in the documentary, but, or at least it's just something I observed. Like, she's just always looking for something deep and meaningful. Like, even when she's promoting what was she promoting? I think probably Rare, which was, again, a fantastic album released in 2020. And she's just like upset at these questions she's answering. And she
says like, they don't see me, or they're not listening to me.
They're not.
And that's a frustration, a point of contention for her, because she wants to be seen. And maybe that's the message that we can take away from this. She wants to be seen for her, all different sides of her. You know what I mean?
Well, her philanthropy was mentioned in an answer that she gave, and there was no follow-up. And I think that finally did it to her, because she's expressing that when she's done with art, and done acting and done with music, that's what she wants to spend her life doing, is just focusing on her philanthropy. And there's just no follow-up of like, what does that look like for you?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like, what do you want to get involved in? Like, that's so interesting and that's so wonderful.
It felt very shallow to not follow up with any question to that statement. And I think that's what she was
the answer
bumping
was,
on.
that's it for me. The answer was, that's it for me. That's all. I was telling my husband, because I was rewatching this. I've seen it 2 or 3 times now. And I was telling him, because he, of course, you know how these dudes do sometimes. They're popping in, they're popping out, whatever. Standing there with their arms crossed, pretending they don't want to watch. Although he loves Selena. He was saying that like he caught that was a bit shallow too. But I told him, maybe, I mean, number one, there seemed like there could or couldn't have been a language barrier with the person who was interviewing. But also, I wonder, like, were they just trying not to spend too much of Selena's time? Like, were they trying to just be gracious for time and say, thank you, and not do too much? Or I don't know.
It could have been a lot of things. It could have been that. It could have been their people saying, these are the questions you can ask and don't go beyond that. So, I mean, it's hard to judge that 10-second clip for anything more than what we got. But you can tell that there was this like frustration that she had been feeling. And that was basically the feather that broke the camel's back of, they're not listening to me. Everything's too surface level. And she is a very deep, empathetic, very sensitive soul that you can just tell with how she interacts with people that she's looking for some sort of connection. And one interaction that really got me was towards the end of the documentary. And I know we keep talking about the documentary, but like,
I mean, it's 6 years of her life.
6 years of her life, but it was also just a really well done documentary that even if you aren't a Selena fan, it would be worth the watch.
It's interesting.
Yes. Like I said at the beginning, I never really followed her career, but it was a really entertaining and impactful watch. And I don't mean entertaining in like I was laughing, but I was absorbed. I was absorbing everything that was on screen. But towards the end, she has this interaction where she is just falling apart. She's falling apart. She's in her home. And the cameraman is filming. The documentary cameraman is filming. And he wraps his arms around her as the camera's still on and embraces her. And to me, that told me everything I needed to know about who she is as a person. For the cameraman, he's supposed to be an observer, but instead he couldn't let himself just be an observer. He had to interact, because that's just shows that she is involved in these people's lives, whether they're in front of the screen, behind the screen. Yeah, it just shows that the type of person she is, at least to me.
She's deep, but finds her purpose within a really shallow industry. And that dichotomy, I think, is what mostly affects her. She cannot help that this is somewhere where she thrives.
Right.
But is she truly thriving when it affects your mental health? So I think that's where the philanthropy comes into play, because this industry has a lot of money and she's made a lot of it. And this
She's
is how
made
she gives back.
a ton of money. And
yeah.
as you were talking, I was thinking of how you were saying that, this is basically something that she's really good at and she can't help how people respond, right? Well, when she got engaged, or when it became public that she was dating Benny Blanco, I did see that she was having full-on comment wars with her fans about like defending this relationship. And so it just goes back to show you she is a very sensitive person, but she's also not a pushover. She's not a doormat. She's not going to get walked all over. And I think people have trouble placing that, because she's so sweet and so empathetic, but she's like, she can be a little sassy too.
When I saw their Hot Ones interview on YouTube, it's like, Natalie is chronically online as I am, but she's not quite as chronically on YouTube as I am. So Hot Ones, Natalie is like a...
No, I know. I love Hot Ones. Yeah.
Okay, did not mean to insult any intelligence there. I'm so glad you know, so that I don't have to describe it. But for anybody that hasn't seen, then it's an interview that's done while people try varying degrees of heat, or what's the scale level called, Natalie, of how hot something is, the spices, the Schofield?
Something like that, yeah. I mean, look, I watch, but idiot. I don't know what that's called off the top of my head.
It starts with an S. It's on the tip of my tongue. I know it.
They were
but
selling
it's not
all of
the
hot sauce flavors at like Costco, like a pack.
Oh, that's kind of cool, actually.
Yeah. My husband and brothers tried it. Apparently very spicy, but keep going. Sorry.
So they're varying degrees of spice level, and they increase as the interview continues on. It's actually quite interesting because I think it puts the interviewee in a very vulnerable place. And Selena was super nervous, but Benny was right there with her. And apparently it was really difficult for her in the car because she was so nervous about, I don't know if about the heat or the interview or both or what, but you can really see such like an interesting relationship dynamic in that interview. Like it's worth a watch, Natalie. Like you and I would be like tearing that apart. Like, ooh,
I think in a past Unscripted episode, we've talked about Selena and Benny's relationship as well in comparison to Haley and Justin's relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not sure if we mentioned that episode, but we did talk about how, as you're mentioning, Selena may have a little bit more anxiety surrounding this type of press. But Benny is really someone who is comfortable in his own skin.
Oh, he's hilarious. Like, I see why. Like, listen, am I the most attracted to him? No. But does that mean you have to have the looks to be attracted to? And maybe she is more attracted to him anyways. But like, he's there for her. And that is attractive in and of itself. Like, he cares for her.
He not only cares for her, he's funny. He's talented.
Yeah, he's a goofball.
He seems very patient with her, which is something that you don't get a lot.
That's what it is.
With anyone you meet nowadays. And so it was really nice to see them interact with one another. And to me, I mean, we talked about this in the episode where we talked a little bit about their relationship. It does look like sometimes she can be kind of mean to him. But however, I want to make an addendum to that. I think it's the anxiety coming out where she knows that like this is in an uncomfortable place and he understands that. And he's always a comforting presence to her. And I don't think he takes it personally.
Like, you and I have been married for a decade by now. And isn't that just the case sometimes when you see a wife and a husband where sometimes, sure, one of the partners can be a little snippy when they're out of their comfort zone. Selena hates promo, by the way. So she would have had zero interest probably in doing that. Not personal to the show, but just she doesn't like promoting things or anything. And She says that in the documentary. It's like her least favorite part of her career is having to do
I
it.
even think she
said she hates it. She did say that. So all of these things are popping off. We have some mental health struggles. And it's like, of course, unfortunately, Benny, the loved one, is kind of taken the brunt of it a little bit. But it also, to me, shows comfort. Like, think of the things that we have said to our siblings. Okay. Like, we say awful things sometimes and we don't mean them.
I remember seeing something, it was a parenting thing where it's about parenting, but it sort of fits this discourse that we're having where a child will act out when it comes to their relationship with their mother because that's the person they're closest to. But it's also because there's that understanding that no matter what they do, the child, and no matter how they act, the mother or the parent will always love them unconditionally. And I think that is why you can see that happen in some relationships, and maybe this relationship, for instance, where there is a little bit of, I don't want to call it misbehaving, but a little snippiness, a little sassiness. And it's because she knows that at the end of the day, he's not going to take it personally. He loves her for who she is and, you know, however she comes. And she's
I think
safe.
it's authentic.
She feels safe.
She's not biting her tongue. And
No.
as somebody with OCD, there are plenty of times that I do not hold my tongue with my husband. And like, thank God I don't have to. I don't want a mask. So I'm not holding my tongue. If my anxiety is heightened, I'm not going to be the nicest in that moment either, even if I'm going to be trying. But sometimes you don't even have it in you. And so, yeah, if you're triggered or you are just a normal human being, like, yeah, it happens with those you love the most, because exactly what you said, not only is there unconditional love, but there's unconditional positive regard where they're not going to hold it against you. And there's still 5 seconds later, it's going to be the same. Like, it's not going to
affect the relationship.
Yes. And that doesn't mean that you get to be abusive to people, but we're just talking about those one-off, those snippy moments where you're uncomfortable and they're sort of poking your button a little bit, or like, you know, because my husband tends to do, it's kind of a similar dynamic where she is feeling a little on edge, me, and maybe her husband's being a little bit goofy. Natalie's smiling because my husband is very goofy dude and we love him for it. But
He's
like
the best.
sometimes we don't want the goof, you know, when you're in your anxiety, if you have anxiety. And there's probably a lot of people, I hope, relating to this. And I think that that's kind of what we see too. Like, she's not going to mask. She's not doing anything. It's just like,
It feels like a very mature, I know using the word mature when we're talking about not emotionally
being
regulating
snippy.
sounds off, but her relationship with Benny feels so much more mature than what she had with Justin
yes,
a decade ago.
Oh, they're married. They live together. Like, you can tell it, you can feel it. Like, oh, that's a real relationship. Like, they're being
you can tell they've
real.
seen the ugly parts of each other, but still accept each other because they know that the good outweighs the bad. And I think with Justin, she was young. It was a little bit more surface level. It was a little bit more, I don't want to say for her career, because obviously it looked real, but it could have never, I don't want to say it would have never, it could have never been
they were
what
the
she
Brittany
has with
and
Benny.
Justin. They were the Brittany and Justin of the Gen Z.
They were never meant
They're
to
not
be
Gen Z, but for Gen Z, that was their Brittany and Justin, who were like Gen X / old millennials. So for us as millennials, so absolutely, you bring up a great point in that relationship really amplified, and it also kind of, I don't want to, is personified the right word because they are already human, but like it was a thing of its own,
right? It was its own movement, and it ran its course. And I think the time that she spent single, which was like for a few years, really allowed herself to go on a healing journey physically, mentally, and just look inward into figuring out what she was looking for. And she seems to have found that in her new husband. And so I'm really happy for her. I feel like they seem to really enjoy each other's company. They just released their own album that they produced together. So I'm curious to see what they do next. Maybe start a family, maybe not. Maybe another album. I don't know. Maybe another Hot Ones episode.
She mentions that I mean, kids seem to be on the table. She talked to Amy Poehler about that, you know, she is 33, as Amy Poehler reminded her a couple times, which was so funny. It kind of reminds me of me. Like, I do get hung up on like dates and age. Like, yes, 33. And she mentioned something about, you know, blah, 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 your kids. And she goes, oh, my kids. Like, she just seemed like excited, but like also, wait, this is so crazy. At the time of the interview, she was still engaged, not married yet, because it was from earlier September. But it definitely seemed like that wasn't a mistake at all, that like kids are definitely on Selena's mind, that she wants to have kids. She didn't necessarily mention how many or go off any further about it, but like by the reaction, you could tell that like it's something that like, oh my gosh, like I'm getting married and like I am going to be able to have kids. Like the last pretty much 5 years has really been thriving in many different ways. Of course, while going through all of the things we've all been through in the last 5 years in this crazy, crazy world. But isn't that the dichotomy of life, right? Beautiful things happening in your personal life, crazy things happening in the world. Some affect you personally, some don't. And it's just been a whirlwind, but she's just so much better equipped to be handling all of this because they've got medications really on lock right now.
And that was
and all of
something
the
that
things.
I was going to bring up too, because there actually is a People magazine article as we're talking about her. Because I do remember her saying not too long ago, I know she's expressed an interest in having kids, but there was some sort of like question as to whether or not she'd be able to carry a child herself because of the medications that she's been on for a long time. So I could sense some sadness there. I mean, I don't want to project, but how could that not feel sad? And I have seen another article that just came up not too long ago this month, where she's talking about opening up and having kids one day. And she mentions that it could be through adoption or surrogacy. So who knows what her path to motherhood would be? There's no right path. There's just getting there if that's what she chooses and works out for her. We don't know, but I don't really want to speculate on too much on that because I know that could be a hurtful topic for some people.
Having lupus or any autoimmune condition in relation to pregnancy is always a massive concern, 100%. So perhaps it will be a more alternative method that they are able to create a family with, or maybe she gets clearance from a doctor and does have kids herself, or maybe they do end up choosing not to. I don't necessarily see it going that route from everything that was like by that reaction I was just mentioning, but it absolutely might look a little bit different. That is a very interesting thing that I wasn't really thinking about. But yeah, with lupus, on top of really any other autoimmune conditions, is definitely something
I appreciated her talking about that too and opening up about it. Not that she needs to, but
right. It helps normalize for other people a little bit, you know, like when somebody you love and adore, whose art, I mean, parasocially, of course, whose art you appreciate, it does mean something to hear about their struggles because people be out here every day struggling, and it is hard to idolize people who you think aren't. But just because they have money, it doesn't mean they're not. It just means they have better resources to get the struggle to go away.
It's true. So I hope it works out how she hopes. And
yeah,
I'll be curious to follow along because now that I've learned a little bit more about her and her career and her life, I feel like I really like her. And I would say it's not that I didn't like her before. There was more of an indifference because I didn't know her. And I didn't realize a lot of the songs that she does sing, I've heard and sung along to. So I don't know. I like who she is. I'm definitely going to be following along and seeing where she ends up.
She is quite likable. And
I mean, 417 million people follow her. She must be doing something right, right?
My husband kept mentioning like, this is so relatable. This is so relatable. Well, meanwhile, he lives with somebody with OCD and anxiety, and an autoimmune condition. This is so relatable. This is so relatable. Like he was just kept being so impressed by that with this documentary. And I found that very interesting because to me, there were obviously pieces that that weren't, like being able to, on a whim, go to Africa and then you're in Paris and London. And
that's not the relatable part, but
right. And that's not what he was talking about, was it? Right. So she was raw and real. And I think that that's what he really meant. And I think if nothing else, that search for deepness always allows her with what she shares to really just be authentic with pretty good comedic timing most of the time.
That's something that it feels really innate to her. It's just second nature.
Yeah, she's pretty witty. Not super witty in the docu because it's a little bit deeper, a little bit tougher topics and tougher moments of her life. But definitely I think that her albums, pretty much all of them, even the older ones, are worth a listen. And she has such like a colorful career that spans lots of different genres, and much like her bestie Taylor, which is interesting. Not necessarily her music spanning too many genres, but hey, she's been featured on a K-pop track. So, which is a really great song, Ice Cream by Blackpink, which I also like Blackpink. They might be another interesting deep dive someday. Who knows?
Well, I feel like that wraps up our deep dive on Selena. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. We can't wait for you to check out our true crime case coverage on Thursday, and we'll be back next Monday. And don't forget that our unscripted episodes are moving to their own RSS feed in January of 2026.
I can't wait to see where Selena is like a year from now. So end of 2026. Can't wait to be following her journey along there. And thank you from me as well for being here. And we'll see you soon. Bye.
Ever wonder why so many people regain weight after stopping a GLP-1? Up to 40% of the weight loss can come from lean muscle. This weakens the body, slows metabolism, and makes it easier to put the pounds back on, creating a cycle of dependency. Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet offers a drug-free way to maintain results and support long-term metabolic health. In just 5 days, it activates fasting pathways to burn fat, protect muscle, and rejuvenate cells, all while letting you enjoy real food. Whether transitioning off a GLP-1 or seeking a sustainable solution, Prolon helps you stay on track. So what exactly is Prolon? Well, it's a plant-based nutrition program featuring soups, snacks, and beverages designed to nourish the body while keeping it in a fasting state, thus triggering cellular rejuvenation and renewal. It was developed over more than 2 decades at USC's Longevity Institute, and it's backed by top U.S. medical centers. Prolon has been shown to support fat-focused weight loss, biological age reduction, metabolic health, skin appearance, and so much more. Prolon really picks up where GLPs leave off. It's convenient, backed by Nobel-winning science, and helps you sustain your results long-term. What I love about Prolon is how simple they make it. Everything you need comes right to your door, perfectly portioned and easy to follow. And the food? It's delicious. For a limited time, Prolon is offering listeners 15% off site-wide, plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe to their 5-day program. Just visit prolonlife.com/diaries. That's PROLONLIFE.com/diaries to claim your 15% discount and your bonus gift. prolonlife.com/diaries.
I can't stress enough how big of a difference therapy through Rula has made in my life. For the last many years, I have turned to Rula to access my therapy in order to manage things like OCD, as well as just the everyday stuff from existing here on Earth. I love being able to access it virtually, especially during the pandemic. My OCD was not comfortable going in person, and the selection of therapists I was able to choose from was incredible. I seriously love my therapist that I have right now so much. So with Rula, you too can find the right therapist for you. No, really, I mean that, because Rula partners with over 15,000 therapists and psychiatrists that operate nationwide. And listen, most of your major insurance companies are going to cover in-network care. Most patients pay as little as $15, but depending on your coverage, you might pay $0. I know I do. And if that's not enough, Rula is committed to being there with you every step of the way. I know they've been there for me the entire time I've been with them. They've helped me find the right therapist twice now. 2 amazing therapists that I've been able to work with. They also remind me when I have an appointment. They can do this for you too. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey towards improved mental health and overall well-being. Head over to rula.com/diaries to get started today. After you sign up, they ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Go to rula.com/diaries and take the first step towards better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares.
If you care about the seafood you eat, you need to know where it comes from. Wild Alaskan Company delivers 100% wild-caught, frozen right off the boat, perfectly portioned fish straight to your door, so you always know exactly where it comes from. That means no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. Just clean, real fish that support healthy oceans and responsible fishing communities. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/wildpod for $35 off your first box of seafood today.